guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Sarah Dank and I am an artist. Thank you so much to everyone who watched my last video. I really appreciate all the encouragement and support. It really means a lot to me. If you haven't seen that video, I will link it up here. Up here, yes. So as you probably saw in the beginning, I've been working on this one project. This is a couple's portrait that I was commissioned to do. The couple lives in New York, and as you could probably tell, the background in that portrait is of Manhattan. I don't know if you could tell, but that picture is actually kind of huge. It's larger than some of my other commissions that I've received. Not including murals, those are a totally different story. I wanted to talk about my process and how I did that video. Not the video. What? Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about how I did the painting. Okay, let's try that again. So I wanted to do a video on how I actually went through the process of making that painting. So the first thing I do with any project is, after I have a very clear idea of what the client is looking for, I start doing sketches. And that's usually two parts, depending on what it is. In this particular case, this would include a background, not just a flat foreground kind of image. So I did a full composition sketch, which is not something I do for pet portraits, for example. I do composition sketches when I know there's going to be a lot of things interacting to make one really large picture. So background, middle ground, and foreground. So I did a series of composition sketches. You might notice these sketches are actually thumbnail size. They're very tiny, and I didn't want to take too much time on them, but I dedicated the most time to the idea in each one. So much so that I even wrote out maybe some notes or some thoughts next to each thumbnail. After I do the composition sketches, then I focus on the subjects. In this case, the couple sent me a bunch of different reference photos, what kind of outfits they wanted to wear, things like that, which was very helpful. So I did some sketches based on those reference photos. So I illustrated these with a very stylized look. They look kind of cartoony. This is a style I felt very drawn to and that I've been developing as my own. So the next thing I do after I've made the initial sketches of both composition and subject is I do a final draft. Due to the size of this piece, I decided to make a final draft digitally so that I could move my original sketches that are this big to this big. So I made it a digital format in order to scale up. This might sound like cheating, but I consider it just a hack to save me some time. That way I'm not having to completely redraw what I already drew, just bigger. Alright, so the next step. So after I've made a digital final draft, I print it off onto a really large watercolor piece of paper. I think I used Strathmore? I can't remember. I will put all my materials in the description below. But I printed onto a really large piece of watercolor paper, and then I do everything traditionally. I outline my main subjects with a Faber Castell artist pen. They are waterproof, so when I use watercolor, they don't typically, if I let them dry, they don't darken or muddy my colors. So that's why they're great. I love them very much. What is my hands doing? Anyway, so after I've outlined my subjects, then I move to the background and I do a base color and then some general shapes. So in this particular case, those general shapes were the trees that were going to be in the background. So after I did the background, I kind of moved back to the foreground and started working on my subjects and then the things in the ground near their feet. The thing is that when you're doing a watercolor piece, you don't want to stay in one area of your painting if you can help it. You should choose to work in other areas as you go. When something is wet, you need to let it dry so that you can continue to build layers. Otherwise, it just becomes one big splotchy mess and your colors get muddled and then chaos happens and everything goes to So that being said, if you are interested in how I use watercolors and what I do when I'm painting with them, I'd be happy to do a video on that. Just let me know in the comments below if you want to know about, if you would like to know more about watercolors. Is my eye twitching? Is it because I've been drinking Coke or root beer? Oh my gosh. I normally don't drink root beer or Coke or anything else, but something in me wanted the sugar and I just, I couldn't say no. And I'm more of like a coffee tea drinker. Let's try this again. I really hope this all makes sense. At this point, I start working on the architecture in the background, all the buildings and the skyline for Manhattan. And I hand draw all of the buildings. I decided not to make everything perfect. I want the idea to be there. I want the concept to be there. I used reference photos. I did not draw all of this from out of nowhere. After that, I add shading to the buildings and I start creating more depth. After all of the painting and line work in that sense, my favorite part is to go in with Prismacolor pencils and really make those colors pop with texture and vibrance, and I can go back in and add little details, things like that. If you're interested in a video in which I show you how I use watercolor and Prismacolors together, let me know. I will see what I can do about that. And that's how I started and completed this commission. If you are interested in seeing more behind the scenes of the commissions I work on, please let me know. I can definitely do that. I do more than just portraitures. I also do chalk art and murals and things of that nature, all while working on some of my other projects. Yeah, so thanks for watching my second video ever. Please feel free to ask me any questions in the comments below. I will do my best to answer every one of them. You can also follow me on Instagram. My handle is @PrettyDangWonderful, and Twitter, Dang Sarah. And if you want to commission me, you can find me, you can contact me through my website, prettydangwonderful.com. Oh man, yeah. If you're interested in more of the kind, if you're interested, why is this popping out of nowhere? I don't know. I'm just trying to live my creative life, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Wow, such a nerd. Such a nerd.